What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 25 of the Hoop Venue podcast. My name is Tyler, and as always, I'm joined by my great friend, Sean. We're about close to 3 hours removed now from the All-Star reserves being announced. Sean, I just want to ask you straight up, what was your initial reaction to the reserves lists?
I don't know if I had an initial reaction because it was more trying to fully understand where everybody was at. I said this off air, but as the reserves, I was trying to get back while the reserves were getting announced and got stuck in traffic. The first thing I saw was Sengun or somebody reacting to Sengun making it over Domantas Sabonis, which we talked about. So I don't know if I had a real initial reaction, but certainly after everything kind of settled in for me, I was like, yeah, this is a pretty interesting, not quite sure in a good way, interesting all-star reserves list for both conferences.
Yeah, what's so tough is by my eye, last time I did player evaluations, I kind of ended up with 43 all-star level players in the league, and it just feels very I guess my initial takeaway is every year we have more and more quote snubs or robberies where it's a clear all-star level player isn't an all-star. Yeah. And I guess my takeaway initially is maybe we're a little outdated because the 24 all-star format was created when there were 100 players in the league. It was the top 25% of the league. Now we still have 24 players on the team, and we have 500 or whatever players in the league. We have 45 players worthy of being an all-star. In my opinion, it should be two 15-man rosters.
Makes the most sense.
I think it should be 30 players because then you don't run into these weird issues where it feels like we're hating on players. And obviously that would just create a new list of snubs. I get that. There's always going to be snubs. But it's the sheer volume of players right now who are you could see them competing for an All-NBA team, and they're not on an All-Star team. Like you mentioned Sabonis, Trae Young, Tyrese Halliburton, LaMelo Ball, Devin Booker, Kyrie Irving. Dude, there are so many good. You can make an all-star team of just players that didn't make the all-star team. Jared Allen, another one. And it's it's just crazy to think that the league is so talented right now. And I guess with two 15-man teams, I'd probably also go conferenceless. I understand the idea of wanting to represent both conferences. It makes sense. But at the same time, look, we'll get into the specifics of each player and who we feel was snubbed or whatever, but Tyler Hero, phenomenal season, phenomenal player.
We've talked about his breakout.
Would you say Tyler Hero is more deserving of an all-star spot than Devin Booker? And it's I just can't get there. I just think Devin Booker is just a flat-out more complete player, and it's nothing to do with Tyler Hero. It's just Booker has proven time and time again to be just another tier, right? And it's just that's what makes it tough, man. That's what makes it tough because it's then you get these weird issues where it's Jaylen Brown front court is a shoe-in, and it's because the East doesn't really have a bunch of front court guys. But then you get the Western front court, and it's World War II over there, and it's it's ridiculous. And so So moving on though, I don't want to harp on because I don't want to sound like Adam Silver with the 10-minute quarters. I just wanted to get.
I hate the idea so much.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. But I just want to get my piece out there. I kind of wish it was conferenceless, and I kind of wish it was 15 players on each team, so you get 30 all-stars. That feels more representative of where the league is at right now. But without further ado, let's actually get into who was selected. So we're going to start with the East. Eastern Conference reserves were Cade Cunningham, Damian Lillard, Tyler Hero, and Darius Garland in the backcourt. And then in the front court, Evan Mobley, Jaylen Brown, Pascal Siakam. So we did our all-star episodes. We already went kind of in-depth with each player. The only player neither of us had on a team from this list was Tyler Hero. I didn't have Jaylen Brown, and you didn't have Siakam, but I had Siakam, you had Jaylen Brown. So we we talked that out. We were we see the vision for both those guys. Neither of us really made the case for Tyler Hero. So I just want to ask you, what do you think is the case for Tyler Hero to be an all-star over guys like Trae Young, Tyrese Halliburton, LaMelo Ball?
So I'm going to say this, and I hope that it doesn't come off in a hating way. I want to start by saying I feel like the case for Tyler Hero is that over those guys since he's had the breakout year, if that makes sense. Where Trey and a Howley are kind of at this point what they are as players, for better or for worse, and for the most part, like both of them are established, really really good NBA players. I think with Tyler Hero, career year in efficiency, he took a +6 percentage leap in terms of true shooting percentage. Last season was at 56% true shooting. The year before that, 56.9%. So he basically is hovering around league average to slightly below league average efficiency. And this one things we talked about. He's kind of shifted his shot diet. Now he's around 63% true shooting, which would be like +5 for relative to the rest of the league. He's taking more rim field goal attempts per game. He's taking less mid-range field goal attempts per game and upping his three-point volume. He was already a great and high-volume three-point shooter. He's upped the volume even more, shooting per dunks and threes or whatever. 60.8% at the rim, 52% from the mid-range, and 40% from three. More than capable playmaker. And, to Tyler's credit, and this is one of the reasons why the Jimmy thing has been so exhausting, he's playing really, really good basketball right now. And is it maybe as highlighted as it should be because of all the negative stuff that is just hanging over the balance in Miami currently? And again, I hope that they just finally trade Jimmy this next week. The deadline's officially a week away from now, time this recording. Tyler's having a really good year. I think it's really just him kind of putting it all together from an offensive scoring standpoint. And he's definitely worthy. He was one of my honorable mentions. And that's why it sucks, because I don't want to hate on Tyler in comparison to, I had Trey. I don't think I had Howley. I don't think you did either.
Yeah, we both had Trey.
Yeah. He's been really efficient as a pick and roll scorer, 72nd percentile efficiency. Just ultra versatile. And this season, ultra, efficient scorer in the half court, which is something that you absolutely have to give him credit for.
Yeah, I think Hero deserves a lot of credit for taking a Miami Heat offense that was just a complete disaster. Like with the Jimmy Butler stuff, Miami was starved of like with Jimmy Butler. When Jimmy Butler's not on the court, their second go-to offensive option is it's Bam, and that's just so inefficient. It's just so inefficient. Shout out Khalil Ware. By the way, I need to make an apology. This whole time I thought his name was Khalil Ware because that's how the Miami Heat announcer says it. And so
it is Khalil.
It's Khalil. It is Khalil. So my entire video on Khalil Ware, I was saying Khalil. And I didn't realize until someone commented and said, I think white people pronounce names wrong on purpose.
Oh my God.
So I looked it up and I realized it was Khalil. So that's my apology. It is Khalil Ware. But going back to Tyler Hero, we're talking about a Miami offense that their go-to offensive action without Hero is a Duncan Robinson handoff. And it's that can be a good source of offense, but as your go-to, we're going to run it possession by possession, or a Jaime Jaquez post-up, a Terry Rozier anything, just not efficient. It's not efficient offense. And so Tyler Hero taking that Heat offense and just saying, look, I'm going to double my rim attempts. I'm going to get to the line more. I'm going to use the floater. I'm going to shoot 40% from three on 10 attempts a game. Can we acknowledge how absurd that is? And the versatility in that shot diet. You're getting pick and roll pull-ups. You're getting ISO step backs. You're getting legit movement looks off of screens and off of handoffs. Hero's just an absurdly talented offensive player, and I don't think he gets nearly enough credit for the level of playmaker he is. The way he places those lob passes and those shovel passes, you're not going to get some crazy skips and stuff, but bro, his passes are on target, and he creates a lot of what Khalil Ware and Bam excel in. And so I just think, I think the argument, so like we said, I don't think the argument is defense at all. I think Trey, Halliburton, and Hero, all of those guys are just defense. We'll talk about it. But on the offensive side, I agree. I think Trey's a better engine with the on-ball playmaking. Halliburton's a little bit different, but I still think as the driver of the offense, just the way he runs pick and roll, gets off the ball quickly, hits everyone with pinpoint skip passes, it's just beautiful. I think the argument for Hero is that out of that group of three, he is pretty clearly the most versatile offensive weapon.
Yep.
Meaning you can do more
He's kind of
things.
Zach LaVine in that way.
I was just going to say that. I was just going to compare it to Zach LaVine, like in terms of we can do all these different play types, except just like a world's better passer. And then not even close to the same athlete. It's like you trade the athleticism for playmaking. And then you get Tyler Hero. But like, yeah, dude, 24, 6, and 5 a game, shooting 47% from the field, 40% from three. The big thing for me is the 2-point percentage. Before this year, his career high came in 2021, 49.8% from two. This year, 56.3% from two. And then
in the half quarters, 53.5.
Yeah,
from two.
Yeah, he doesn't really do much in transition. Like he's not really a transition player. So I personally wouldn't have had Hero on my team, but I get it. It makes sense. The Heat are in the playoff race in large part because he's the only thing keeping them from being like the worst offense in the league.
Yeah. So not to cut you off. So in over 1,212 possessions this season without Tyler Hero on the floor, their offensive rating is 106.4, which, if you don't know how bad that is, that would be the second worst offense in the league, only in front of the Washington Wizards. With Tyler Hero on the floor, I forget the exact possessions or whatever. With Tyler Hero on the floor, I mean, this is kind of an imperfect stat, but with Tyler Hero on the floor, they would be 115.7 offensive rating, which would be good for 7th in the league. Only teams better will be OKC, Memphis, Denver, Boston, New York, and Cleveland.
Yeah. So, not to like harp on your point, because I agree, that's like a great signal. I can't do the lineups versus teams thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so funny story. I used to always use that stat, dude. I used to always do like team, and then Cranjus McBasketball cooked me on Twitter.
Did he?
For doing that, and ever since I've been like looking.
Shout out to him. What'd he say? I haven't seen it.
He just said he was like, it is very irreflective or something like that to like compare a specific lineup to an entire team. It's manipulating the data or something like that. He fried me. It was like, I think it was like 3 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. He fried me. But
oh, dang.
No, like your point though stands. Like the offense is fine with Hero on the court, even good, and then it's just terrible with him off the floor. And that applies to Trey and it applies to Halliburton. But like you said, paired with like the breakout stuff and the narrative around that, and then just like the versatility of him as an offensive weapon. You can play him off the ball, run him as your point guard, play him as like a movement shooter if you want to. There's nothing the guy really can't do offensively, and that's the big point. In the East, I think that pretty much covers it. We both had Cade. We both had Dame. We both had Garland. Shout out Garland, man. Garland's a hooper. Same with Mobley. Shout out Mobley. He's a hooper. I'm really glad that Siakam got in. I was shocked. I had him, but I didn't think he would get the respect. I knew Jaylen Brown was going to get in. I didn't have him on my personal list. I knew he was getting in. There was no question. I didn't think Siakam would get the nod over like Jared Allen. But I'm glad. It's tough. I would take Siakam over Allen this season. And it's just because, dude, Siakam's been really good. Like, this is probably the best offense Siakam's ever played in his career. And with the Pacers getting up to, like, the 5 seed or whatever they are right now, like, shout out to Siakam. But, yeah, man, I can't really disagree. Like I said, my only one change would be Jaylen Brown for Jared Allen, and then, like, Hero we talked about. But I'm not mad at Jaylen Brown getting in because he's still a volume creator on one of the best teams in the league. It's just, it's a shoo-in. In the West, Western Conference reserves. Anthony Edwards, we both had him. James Harden, we both had him. Anthony Davis, we both had him. Wembanyama, we both had him. Jaren Jackson Jr., we both had him. And then there are 2 guys who neither of us had, Jalen Williams and Alperen Şengün. Where do you want to start? J-Dub, Şengün?
Let's start with J-Dub. And I think we might also have this conversation. I fully anticipated J-Dub potentially getting in because the argument is like, look, there's no way you're gonna have the best team in the league. I think they might have caught OKC record wise. No, OKC still got them. I mean, they caught Cleveland. I meant Cleveland still has them overall record wise in the league
after that Warriors loss.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. But the point still stands. Like second best team in the league. record-wise. They're the most dominant teams historically. There's no way you're not going to have that team more, I think, properly represented than just Shea. And obviously happy for J-Dub. I think he's a really, really talented player. He was an honorable mention, but I'm not going to lie. I didn't put too much thought into him for my personal All-Star ballot. And it simply comes down to, like, creation stuff compared to Kyrie, compared to Devin Booker. I just think if we're going with value and what they do for the team, I would have. That's why I had Book or a Kyrie over a J-Dub. Or if I really quickly go back to my notes, Book didn't make it. I had for my guards Shea, Ant, Book, Steph, and then Harden. And then, I mean, technically I had Kyrie and then like De'Aaron Fox. And maybe De'Aaron Fox I maybe regret a little bit based off how he's played recently. But I mean, I still pretty decently considered Kyrie before I went J-Dub personally. And there's no shot to J-Dub. I even put the tweet out yesterday. There's not very many true. You can argue if J-Dub's really like their third option. But there's not true number two options. Not number twos maxed at max as number ones like a Booker or not ones max is two, for example, like a Devin Booker or Kyrie, because like people are like, is Kyrie not a two? I'm like, Kyrie's really maxed as a two, but he's really a one, I think. Still, Dame and the perfect example. Yeah, J-Dub is one of the better true number two options where like there's no scenario where he is a one, but like as your two, because then what he provides for you on both ends of the floor, he plays off of Shea perfectly, almost to a fault, and it almost hurts him how well he plays off of Shea because there's maybe over reliance there, and it kind of hurts his creation ability, in my opinion. But he's awesome. I mean, I don't want to take anything away from him, obviously. You could argue he's maybe even the third best player when Chet gets back. I think I would actually agree with you.
I agree with that last point. I think Chet's their second best player. I'm going to play devil's advocate, though, and make the J-Dub case because I actually think it's really easy. And I don't even think it's about necessarily like number one seed, this much of a gap, you got to give him a second All-Star. My argument would be everyone kind of looks at Shea's MVP case, right? And is like, with Chet missing time, with Hartenstein missing time, look at what Shea did to keep them where they are. And it's a great argument. I would argue J-Dub's versatility actually played a bigger role in them maintaining their status as like a top team with those injuries. Like the fact that J-Dub could slot in at the 5 is unfathomable. Like, is there any scenario where you can make like you can lose both of your centers and Devin Booker or Kyrie Irving is going to be like, not necessarily play center, but like I can plug
the argument's
that
just
hole.
a two-way impact.
Right. It's like I can plug that hole and we can be fine. I don't think that's the case. And so J-Dub being able to do it, he does in terms of versatility. Like I can pick up ones, I can pick up 5s, I can rebound, I can block shots. I'm now averaging damn near 2 steals a game. I'm like leading the league in deflections. J-Dub being like a legitimately elite defender, not just like elite defender, but giving them so much lineup versatility.
Arguably all NBA level defender even.
Right. So I agree with your point. I don't think there's any situation where he's number one. I think he really struggles to create easy shots for himself, which I think could show itself in the playoffs. But I still think he does enough offensively to where it's like, this is a legitimate two-way all-star level player. Like we're talking about a guy who's, sure, he struggles to create easy shots for himself. World-class off-ball scorer, and then a guy who, with the bench lineup, will play off of Hartenstein, is capable of giving you 20 points, is one of the better shot makers in the league from the mid-range and 3, will get some free throws, not going to make advanced passes, but will find the open man, 5 assists a game, and it's like low turnover. So I think J-Dub just like, in terms of just, look, I'm not a number one, but I'm going to play this number 2 role to near perfection on both sides of the ball. It does mean a lot. It does mean a lot. And so I actually had Kyrie. You had Booker. I had Kyrie on my team. But I definitely would comfortably take J-Dub over Fox in this discussion. Yeah. But like in terms of like J-Dub, Booker, Kyrie, I think J-Dub has a perfectly strong argument. And I don't even think you have to really bring up the team's record. It's just like I'm a two-way impact player. I give my team a lot more versatility than these other guys. So when you're working on the margins, when you're trying to win 70 games or 65 games or whatever the Thunder are trying to get to, working on the margins is kind of the needle mover, and it's kind of like the Draymond argument, but like much more reduced, where it's like Draymond relies on Steph and Clay to produce his offensive value in 2016, but it's like he's really the glue guy that pulls it all together, and that's kind of how I feel about J-Dub. I feel like J-Dub glues that whole roster together. He allows them to play the type of offense and defense that they do because of the way he complements Shea and then can play multiple positions. So that for me would be the strongest argument for J-Dub. Şengün,
Yeah.
how'd you feel about Şengün?
Again, I wasn't necessarily surprised. No, I lied. I am a little surprised because I thought Sabonis has just been better than Şengün this season. I do think there is and we've talked about, the leap I think that Şengün's taken this season defensively in particular, which, okay, have at it. But I don't think the gap is big enough defensively to ignore, I think, just what Sabonis brings on a night-side basis offensively that I don't think Şengün has. I think the biggest difference that you've outlined in the past as well is just some of the decision-making stuff with Şengün is just not as consistent. Where everybody views him as a baby Jokic, no, the other Jokic guy in the league is actually Sabonis. And I think the level of Sabonis has played at this season, that Şengün's argument is really, really good. I think Şengün's having an all-star caliber season for sure, but I was a little bit more surprised, especially comparing him next to Sabonis, personally. Well, I don't know. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, so I thought Şengün was going to make it just because of it's the whole the 2 seed in the West has to have an all-star. And from that standpoint, yes, I get it. Şengün's, to me, has been clearly the best player on the Rockets from start to finish this season. And then they're head and shoulders the 2 seed. They're playing phenomenally. And not only are they the 2 seed, they consistently beat the best teams. I think they beat the Thunder earlier this year. They beat the Celtics. They beat the Cavs twice. They're beating the top teams. They're not a fluke. And we're going to talk about the Rockets more in depth in a sec. They're a really, really good team. And so they were going to get an all-star. I think that was a given. And I thought Şengün. The problem for me with Şengün is kind of what you brought up with the baby Jokic thing. Şengün's the type of player that we can literally directly compare to someone who didn't make the team because they play the same role and they're asked to do the same things for their teams pretty much. Şengün's asked to score a little bit more as a self-creator, but in terms of they're going to run the same defensive coverages. They're their team's lead rebounders. They're playmaking hubs in the middle of the floor. Sabonis and Şengün play quite literally the exact same role for both of those teams. And one guy is just significantly more productive at it. And that's what's tough for me. So I actually made a tweet afterwards. There are obviously other factors. I think Şengün's a better defender. I'm actually a huge fan of Şengün's defense. And the more I watch the Rockets, the more I become a fan. He's a legitimately really good defender at this point. And then, of course, Houston's been the better team. But I just don't get how we missed the mark this much. Şengün this season, 19, 10, and 5. Sabonis, 21, 15, and 7. Shooting splits. Şengün, 49, 23, 71, 54% true shooting. Sabonis, 61, 48, 77, 68% true shooting. Sabonis is nearly shooting as good on threes as Şengün is from the field overall. He's shooting 12% better from the field and 25% better from three. And is the clearly better decision maker, better screener, better passer. That's what's tough for me. And it's someone made the argument, okay, Sabonis' assists are inflated by dribble handoffs. Someone made that argument to me in the comments.
Not a fan of that argument, but okay.
That doesn't exist. Let me explain. Sabonis' timing and ability to organize those dribble handoff situations is the best in the league besides Jokic. The way he pushes pace immediately off the defensive rebound, which Şengün doesn't do, by the way. He doesn't grab and go. Sabonis grabs defensive rebounds, pushes down the court full speed, immediately dribbles to the corner for a handoff, then is the best screener in the NBA. That is an automatic advantage every possession. And then you have Monk, DeRozan, Fox playing off of an advantage pretty much every time they touch the ball. If Şengün could do that, then Amen Thompson, Van Vliet, Jalen Green, Tari Eason would be constantly playing off of handoffs and getting paint touches, but they aren't. Houston has the athleticism and the ball handlers to execute that type of offense, and that is not the type of offense they run. Instead, they play really slow, dump it into Şengün in the post, and Şengün's a very methodical decision maker. Yes, Şengün makes more impressive passes than Sabonis, makes more flashy passes, and probably makes tougher reads out of the post. But in terms of, I'm going to initiate this possession, I'm going to organize the offense, I'm going to get the best possible shot for my team. It's kind of like the Tyrese Halliburton argument. Tyrese Halliburton isn't going to slow it down and dissect you. What he's going to do is push down the defense's throat and just have constant pressure. They can't do anything. They can't even react by the time the team's scoring a bucket. That's what Sabonis brings to the Kings, and he's just so efficient. He's literally mastered that play style that, to me, it's less about Şengün not being deserving and more about Sabonis should have been a lock. Like, I just can't believe he was robbed. That's how I feel about it. And it's like, you don't even have to get Şengün out of there. Someone has to get out of there for Sabonis, because Sabonis has legitimately played like a top 15 player this season.
All right, there's our Sabonis prop. I mean, Tyler does have a good relationship with with Kings fans. I was pulling up some data to compare the two really quickly. B-ball index, overall LeBron metric, Alperen Şengün, but barely. Offensive LeBron, overall LeBron metric, Sabonis, defensive LeBron, Şengün. Obviously, like, ability to create shots at the rim, it's going to be Şengün. Although they value Sabonis as, like, they think he's a better finisher in general, though. Even though Şengün's going to create more shots at the rim.
Yeah.
Ability to create is like more valuable shots. Sabonis. Sabonis. I think one. I mean, I'm sure you've already touched on this as well. Probably the best rebounder in the league.
Yeah. And also, on the team success point, I also had this argument. The Rockets with, and this is excluding garbage time, the Rockets with Şengün on the floor have a plus 7.4 net rating. With him off the floor, a plus 7 net rating. So, and that's not to say Şengün's only worth 0.4 points. It's to show that he isn't the only person driving forward this number 2 seed. Sabonis, on the other hand, for the Kings, plus 5.4 net rating on the floor. So you got a guy who's like damn near, like, the Kings with Sabonis on the floor are only 2 points worse than the Rockets with Şengün. So the 2 seed versus 9 seed or whatever really oversells the difference between how these teams perform with their respective stars. With Sabonis off the floor, negative 8.7.
With Sabonis off the floor?
Negative 8.7 net rating. They've been just like the worst team with Sabonis off the floor because they don't have a backup big. And that's been like a direct factor in like 4 of their losses. They don't have a backup big. And they can't rebound when he's off the floor. They have no offensive organization. They're playing a bunch of ISO ball. And it just shows, like, Sabonis makes everyone's life so easy. And I just wish we would reward that instead of looking at the seed. Because Sabonis has gotten snubbed. Like, I don't even think he was an All-Star in 2023, was he? When they won 48 games?
I don't think so. I think Fox was that year.
Just doesn't, like, dude, it just doesn't compute for people how good Sabonis is. Yeah, he wasn't. He was in 2023, but not last year when he averaged 19, 14, and 8 last year. Like, bro, I just think Sabonis, and I think Sabonis has taken a noticeable leap this year with the way he's jump shooting and stuff like that. So, yeah, I just think Sabonis deserves a lot of credit. My other argument for the Rockets' success would be they've had multiple All-Stars at different points in the season. Like, every time they need an All-Star, someone emerges. Beginning of January, Jalen Green goes on an 8-game tear where he's literally playing like an All-NBA player. In the last 11 games, Amen Thompson has been a legitimate All-Star. Like, just like took the leap out of nowhere and is a legitimate All-Star since becoming a starter. Fred VanVleet could argue makes an All-Star type of impact with the way he's a two-way small guard. It's kind of like an anomaly. Jabari Smith, before he got hurt, great rim protector, decent offensive option. Dylan Brooks and Tari Eason are both all-league caliber defenders. The Rockets are just loaded, man. And I don't want to just not credit Şengün. Like I said, Şengün's the best player on that team, start to finish. No question. He's taken a big defensive leap. I think he's a legitimately good defender and is their go-to offensive guy on a team that lacks spacing, lacks shooting. Like, they need him to take tough shots and make tough shots, and he does that. I just think we should be taught. The conversation should be more about how good the Rockets are as a team, and that's kind of where I want to move on to.
I was about to say that is an all-time level segue by my guy Tyler, who's 25 episodes into podcasting, by the way, and we're already getting elite with the segue. So I do have a random question because this has started to pop in my mind after I did like the 24 for Kobe thing at the end of episode 23. Who's the best? And maybe I'm like over complicating this, and it's like a really easy answer. Who's the best player to ever wear 25?
Oh, I gotta look it up because I can't even think of one. Like who
First guy that popped in my head was Steve Kerr.
Steve Kerr. Yeah, I was like, I can't even. Like, best player in NBA history to wear number 25. Like, wasn't Ben Simmons number 25?
Yeah, Ben wore 25.
Gail Goodrich, Chet Walker, Gus Johnson,
Mikal Bridges.
Like, I mean,
Vince, although like Vince, that's like late in career Vince.
Yeah. I feel like, I mean, peak for peak. Oh yeah, Derrick Rose, late career Derrick Rose.
I feel
like peak for peak, it's gotta be Ben Simmons. I mean, unless like one of the older guys like Chet Walker or Gail Goodrich are both like legends.
Yeah.
But Eddie Jones wore it for the Lakers.
Eddie
Jones was a hooper. Eddie Jones was a serious hooper. Vinnie Johnson for the Spurs.
Alex Len, baby.
Alex Len. Gerald Green's an all-timer for number 25. I think I'd go with like Chet Walker, like one of the really old guys. But if we're keeping it modern, it's got to be Ben Simmons. Peak Ben Simmons, man. 2021. Ben Simmons, Defensive Player of the Year candidate. Top of the league in assists. Yeah. But, yeah. Moving on from the number 20, the legendary number 25s. You were kind of lower on the Rockets coming into the season. And then you kind of still felt like they weren't like a playoff ready team. Where's your temperature check at right now? Like, how are you feeling about the Rockets after like seeing them beat these really, really good teams consistently?
Yeah. I'm starting to get to a point, Tyler, and this is, I think, maybe me just like wanting to give them their credit. And then if it doesn't come to fruition in the playoffs, it just doesn't happen. But I kind of just like give them their credit now. Starting to get to a point where I think they're so good defensively to where it might not even matter about like their playoff offense.
Yeah.
And I think they have enough guys that can contribute offensively to where it's not going to matter because they're going to, in a playoff setting, because the argument, I made this argument admittedly as well, the argument is against Houston in a playoff setting as well. Look, they don't have that half-court consistent, like, half-court creator that you feel good about in a playoff setting where, you know, the game is going to, in air quotes, slow down, and you're going to play a lot of half-court basketball, obviously, and, you know, blah, 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 blah. I think that argument also works to Houston's advantage because, yeah, we're going to make this game 90 to 87, and Houston has enough guys to where, like, all right, cool, Jalen Green over a 4-minute stretch, he could get hot and make things kind of nerve-wracking for you to play against. Sengun is a good enough post-up scorer to where Sengun could be a mismatch guy or give you some troubles as a post scorer. Fred could hit some shots. Amin Thompson could get downhill and get some things going. They have a couple of guys that could shoot it, obviously. And that's kind of where I'm at on Houston. I think that's kind of my temperature check on Houston right now. It's like, it might not even matter. Now, it could still absolutely matter, and I'm just like overreacting and just wanting to give them their credit and not sound like a hater. But for the time being, man, they are a ridiculous defense. The amount of different stuff they could do, and this just goes to show you how insane Amin Thompson is. I think it might have been you. I forget who said it. Amin Thompson, obviously an All-NBA defender, and I want to say it was you. And I think the tweet is like, dog, the crazy thing is I still think Asar's the better defensive player.
I said that. Yeah, I was like, it's crazy that I still think Asar's the better defensive player. Dude, Amen's absurd. The
amount of like versatility too, like
it's absurd.
The Terror Twins, Sengun, like
that's exactly where I was about to go because you saw my tweet earlier where I said these are the defenses I think are the top 5 going into the playoffs will be the hardest to score on.
You had them 2, right?
I had them 2 behind the Thunder. And honestly, I would say they're a legit vertical presence away from competing with the Thunder because they don't have a vertical presence at the rim at the five. Their five rotation is Şengün, Adams, and Landale. If any one of those guys was like a legit, like, I can block shots, I can meet you at the rim, I think they'd be like up there with the Thunder because everything else they check every box. They have two small guards who can both switch up to like threes and fours and are great at the point of attack in Van Vliet and Holiday. They have Amen Thompson, who's like the ultimate chess piece. I can play the point of attack against agile guards. I can protect the rim as a weak side guy. I can switch across the board. Dillon Brooks remains like a top 5 point of attack guy in the league who can guard bigger players, and that matters. Like in a playoff series against Memphis, Dillon Brooks would guard Jaren Jackson Jr. But against like the Thunder, he'll probably guard either Shea or J-Dub. Like, Dillon Brooks is just an awesome guy to have that can guard any position. Jalen Green's a legitimately okay defender at this point. Like, I don't feel bad about Jalen Green as a defender at all. They're comfortable. The Rockets switch every action between their wings. They will be comfortable in a series putting Jalen Green on an island and then just living with it. The main thing the Rockets are elite at doing is they shut down spot-up threes. They do not give up any spot-up threes. They will make every team beat them one-on-one. And sure, you can run into an offense like the Thunder, and that's kind of scary. Like, if you're just going to make Shea play a one-on-one, he's going to beat you. Sure. But against any other team, like, I'm going to use the Lakers as an example. I apologize. But if you are going to switch every single action the Lakers run, who on the Lakers is just going to beat you one-on-one?
Yeah,
like,
for a 7-game series.
For a 7-game series, like, that's tough.
Like, against their wing options, rather.
Right. It's like LeBron's going to be seeing Dillon Brooks, Amen Thompson, Tari Eason. And it's like, can those guys get you? Because like you said, they're going to slow down the game and muck it down to like 90 to 87. And honestly, in the West, the only two teams I can see really attacking them are OKC and Denver. And it's because you can't really do that against Jokic. You can't do that against Shea. And then maybe Dallas. I want to see how Dallas looks because we just haven't seen it in a long time. But like, Houston's style of defense is literally what Boston did to the Mavs in the finals. Like, we're going to put... And they do that with Şengün, too. They put Şengün in the weakest shooter, and then they put, like, Amen Thompson on the 5. And then they just switch everything. And it's like, what do? You can't create any rim pressure. They forced Trae Young into shooting, like, 4 35-footers because the dude was just tired of not being able to get inside the arc and decided he wanted to get a shot up. And it's like, that they can make Luka shoot, like, 10 pull-up threes just like the Celtics did. That's how I view this Rockets defense. And so, yeah, the versatility is just off the charts. And so I was actually watching Rockets defensive film when I made that tweet. And in a series, there's nothing they can't do. Now, to your point on them having, like, just enough offensive juice, all of their star players are really volatile. And I think over a 7-game series, they just, like, there's math in their advantage the longer a series goes. Like, if you take if you're going to beat the Rockets, you got to get them out of there in, like, 5 or 6. Because the longer the series goes, the more you're bound for one of those explosions. Like, in a 7-game series, I'm so confident that Van Vliet has like 2 27-point games in him where he just goes unconscious from 3.
And or Jalen Green just like goes nuts. It has like a 35-point game.
You're going to get stinkers from Green and Van Vliet, but you will get those highs. And if those highs happen at different times, they basically have an all-star level offensive player each game. Like, say Van Vliet goes off game 1. Then he's terrible game 2, but Jalen Green goes off. Then both of them are terrible in game 3, but Şengün has 30. Like, they have talented enough guys to where, like, on any given night, one of them, and that's all they need, one of them. If the game's going to be 92 to 87, one guy can push you over the hump. And so I also like, they've been exploring with small ball. They've been playing a man at the 5 with Eason and Jayshawn Tate. I like it. When Jabari Smith comes back, those looks are going to be terrifying. Yeah, the Rockets can do a lot. So I want to ask you, who do you think the Rockets want to see in a first-round series?
Want to see in a first-round series?
Want to see. Like, who do you think is the ideal matchup where the... Like, because, like, we both kind of viewed them as, like, the team that's, like, gonna get knocked off by whoever gets that number 7. But now I'm kind of feeling like there are some teams that... Like, dude, Minnesota will not score on Houston. Like, At all.
Hold on. Let me see. I'm trying to find something really quick. So who does Houston want to see, right? My bad.
I think it's Minnesota. I think that's number 1.
I think so too. And also it's because I think Minnesota, they score a lot of their half-court square possessions off like spot-up stuff to your point. Dog, I didn't know that Houston was that elite. First off, Houston in terms of half-court efficiency, has the second best half-court defense in the league, only allowing .937 points per possession in the half-court, which is second by OKC. OKC is just insane. 0.882 points per possession allowed in the half-court. In terms of spot-up possessions defensively, Houston allows the fourth least amount of spot-up possessions per game. Only teams that allow less spot possessions are Orlando, New York, and Phoenix. While also having the third best spot-up defensive efficiency. Third best. Only teams that has a better defensive efficiency or whatever be OKC and Boston. And to that point about spot possessions, Minnesota, 6th most scoring possessions out of spot-ups, while also having the middle of the pack efficiency. But they go to it enough to where like it balances itself out. I mean, what type of like space is Minnesota gonna have in a series? Like, it adds 2-point scoring, which I got some flack for like that post I said. I think I like sent you the numbers or whatever. I caught some flack because somebody in my mention was like, well, it's obviously Sean because the spacing and you're being disingenuous for like pretending it's not the spacing. I fully acknowledge that like that's one of the reasons why. It's not like I don't think Ant just fell off a cliff athletically or whatever. But that's kind of the point. Like in a 7-game series against Houston, where is the space going to come from? You think their spacing sucks now? Bro, Houston's just going to play everything straight up. Bro, Dylan Brooks is going to start off on Anthony Edwards. They're going to switch every single action.
They're going to have a man on Gobert.
We have a man on Gobert. Sengun on Julius?
On Randall, yes.
And then what? Fred on Conley.
They're going to make Randall make threes.
Like, dog. You think Ant has no spacing now?
Dude.
I mean, Ant will probably still have like a blow-up game in there, but
100%,
off rip, I'm going Houston like am I crazy for saying Houston in 5?
I would say 6. I would say Houston in 6. Dude, because before, so I'm working on
I probably want to see Phoenix too, low-key, if I'm Houston.
Yeah,
Phoenix would be the other team.
I'm working on a Rockets video right now, and I am like I've been watching all of their defensive possessions over the past like month or whatever, and I've been going game by game, so I'm like back to like the first Grizzlies game so far. And like the more I watch them, the more confident I am in them being like translating to the playoffs. The offense still very shaky so early to the point where I don't view them as like a serious contender. But in terms of like you don't want to see them, that's most of the West right now. Like, I don't think Memphis, they're 3-0 against Memphis this season, and the 4th game is being played as we speak. Like, Memphis doesn't want to see them because Memphis, dude, all Memphis does is play ISO. Houston's like, yeah, ISO all you want. We're going to take away all your spot-up threes, so you're Ja Morant, you have to score 30. And then it's like, Ja's very inconsistent.
Yeah.
And then, I think the one thing with the Lakers, so I kind of think I feel confident about the Rockets versus the Lakers, but the one thing that kind of worries me is the lack of verticality against Anthony Davis.
So I was going to ask you this because I admittedly, I do want to get to more Rockets film over the next couple of weeks defensively especially. Outside of that, is there any like glaring, I don't even know if glaring is the right word, but is there any weakness defensively where you look at Houston and you go, against a very particular matchup, this could be exploited, and it could make them a little bit more vulnerable than we've seen so far?
Yes, the one thing that worries me is
outside the verticality piece.
Yeah, the verticality piece is the main thing, but the other thing is against offenses that Sengun can't guard a roamer, so he has to guard the big. Against those offenses, I think those teams can put him in pick and roll and somewhat exploit him in drop coverage. I think Sengun's a pretty good drop defender positionally, but he just doesn't have the type of physical profile to be able to play the 2-on-1. And that's where you can, and the Rockets, like I said, don't like to help. They like to stay home on spot-up shooters. So that's where you can kind of exploit the 2-on-1, and that's kind of where I'm worried about, like, a Luka matchup, like Luka playing the 2-on-1, or like a LeBron and AD. It kind of worries me because Sengun is, like, pretty floor-bound. He's only 6'10", 6'11", doesn't have super long arms, so he kind of has to commit to one or the other. And then against a guy like LeBron or a Luka with a lob threat, it's like now you have to bring that corner guy over. and then it's okay. Corner three,
I-
corner
am I-
three.
Am I tripping though? Like going to a Lakers series hypothetically, playoff AD like defensively, I actually have a little bit more reservations about Houston in a situation like that. I do understand the argument like defensively, Houston can make things really troubling for the Lakers offense. Am I tripping in saying that I would just switch Bron AD pick and roll in that series, like to the point where I'm going. Okay, so Houston.
So you're putting Şengün on Bron.
I would just switch. Yeah, I would just switch
honestly,
it.
to Şengün's credit, pretty decent defender in space. Like he kind of holds his own. And also, but I will say the Rockets have a scheme for that. When Şengün gets switched onto space, the weak side guy comes over and parks on the strong side block. And against LeBron, that is a skip pass every time.
Sure. So,
And so
wait,
you kind of have to go Şengün on an island. And I'm gonna be honest, man. Şengün on an island for 7 games against playoff LeBron kind of scares me, even if Şengün is pretty good in space.
So like the basketball like nerd in me wants to see that series happen. It's like
That'd be
like
fun. That'd
the
be a
chess
fun
match or
series.
whatever.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of 2009, how the Rockets pushed Kobe and Pau to 7 without Yao Ming or T-Mac. Like, it was all defense. Like, it was Shane Battier, Ron Artest.
Yep.
Dude, that's what it would remind me
Trevor
of.
Reeves was on that Rockets team, wasn't he?
I think
or
so.
is he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, or was he on the Lakers?
I don't
Wasn't
think
he
he was
on
on
the
the
Lakers
09
in 09?
team. Oh no, I think I got the years wrong. I think Trev was on Houston in 2010. He was on both title teams.
He was on Lakers the first year, and then Artest. Did he get traded for Artest? He had to have gotten traded for Artest because one went to the Rockets, one went to the Lakers. They flipped. One was on, for each ring.
Okay, so like let's stick with
And
the
also Chuck Hayes. Shout out Chuck Hayes, 6'6" center, freaking hooper, dude.
So let's assume LA doesn't make any trade, and they're obsessed with Rui Hachimura still. So the starting 5 in that series is AR, Austin Reeves, Max Christie, Rui Hachimura, LeBron, AD. And then, I'm not going to lie. So there's Fred, Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, Amin Thompson, Sengun.
Although, does Jabari come off the bench when he's back? Because Amen's obviously a starter, no question about it.
Yeah,
So
I think
Jabari would have to come off. So that's what's tough. Do you go Şengün on Rui or Şengün on AD? Because what's tough is Amen can't play the 5 against AD. That's a mismatch. It would have to be Brooks, and that's also a mismatch. See, that's what's tough. Şengün has to play the 5 against Lakers, and that's where I think they can be exploited a little bit. I think against other teams, like against Dallas, I think you can go Şengün on like PJ Washington.
Yeah.
And then have like a man on Gafford, because Gafford's not going to punish that mismatch like that.
Okay, I see what you mean now.
Yeah, so that's kind of my and so like same with Nuggets. Nuggets, you have to go Şengün on Jokic. You have to go Şengün on AD against the Lakers. Yeah, so that would be. That's the one thing that I think. So yeah, the Lakers and Rockets series. I don't even know where I'd lean right now. That's a fun series, dude. That's a fun series. But yeah, teams that don't want to see the Rockets. Minnesota Timberwolves, Phoenix Suns are my top 2.
Who would you rather have as your roamer in a Lakers Rocket series? Would it be Amen or would it be Dylan Brooks?
Amen for sure.
Okay, so I'm
Amen's a
going
legitimate rim protector.
I'm going Amen on Rui.
Amen on Rui. And then you go Brooks on LeBron. Brooks on LeBron feels kind of obvious.
Brooks on LeBron, and
Van Vliet
then
on Christie, and then Jalen on
Green.
Reeves. Actually,
Yeah.
no, Van Vliet would probably be on Reeves. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then Jalen on Christie.
and then low key. I don't know how viable this is over a 7-game series. Low key, I would just pre-switch Bron AD pick and roll because we're having Amen as a.
That's what they do. That's what they
Yeah.
do.
Okay.
That's what they already do, and that's also how they avoid. Whenever Şengün's roaming and they switch every action, teams try to get Van Vliet switched onto the big, and they always just have Şengün pre-switch from the weak side and have Van Vliet sprint out. Like, bro, their rotations are so beautiful. They don't miss, and that's also credit to Şengün. Like, Şengün doesn't miss reads. He's such a smart player. Yeah,
So
dude.
that's immediately. I'm glad you said that's already what because that's immediately where my mind goes. Now, if you want to pre-switch from like a Laker counter perspective, pre-switching meaning Amon's guarding Rui, Sengun's guarding AD, and to avoid having Sengun drop, then
honestly, I think Şengün would probably hedge a lot in that series. And Şengün's a good drop defender. It's just those certain guys can exploit him. Like LeBron and AD can exploit him and drop. Luka and Gafford can exploit him and drop. But like some teams, I'm not confident can really take it. I mean, yeah, Harden and Zoo can torch him and drop. Yeah. But like some teams, like I guess my best argument would be like the Suns, like Booker and KD and like Nick Richards. I don't think they can take advantage of Şengün's weaknesses.
Yeah,
that's interesting, dude. But yeah, to just like bring this point home, Rockets are good, and we're both a lot higher on the Rockets now than we were coming into the season. I think I said that, like, remember we were kind of making fun of people for saying they were going to win 50. We were like, nah, this is like a perfectly fine 42, 43 win team. They're going to win like 54. What are they on pace to win right now? They got a .696 win percentage. Dude, they're on pace for 57 right now.
When did I ever say that people are stupid for saying they were winning 50?
So
no way.
We were wrong, and I kind of want to look back and say, where did we miscalculate? I think neither of us.
Go ahead.
I was going to say neither of us expected Şengün to just be a straight out good defender, because I feel like before this year he was like a weak defensive big, like a legitimately weak defensive big. Him just being a good defender matters so much. Tari Eason being healthy and then being as good as he is another big one. I think
Ahmed taking a leap, especially in the past month and a half.
I feel like we should have seen that. Like, I feel like that was kind of given.
I think
honestly,
it's just...
You know what? I think I underrated both Van Vliet and Brooks. They're good. Dude, Brooks had 36 the other night against Boston. 10 threes. And he's an elite defender.
Yeah.
Although
Houston's good.
Brooks' offensive decision-making is so bad.
As soon as we talk about Dylan Brooks, TNT highlighting him hitting a couple of shots.
Nice. Yeah, hey, you know what's funny? When I was doing my my video on a recent, it was Cade, post-up guard. I was looking and there was like 5 non-bigs with like 100 post-ups or something like that. And it was like Cade, Jaylen Brown, Shea, and then Dylan Brooks. And I was like, why is Dylan Brooks posting up as much as Jaylen Brown and Shea?
That's
like,
funny.
bro, what are they doing in Houston? But yeah, dude. I just think I underrated the depth and the versatility of that team. I feel like I should have seen it coming. It's just a miss on my part. And also, Ime Udoka, man, like dude doesn't do anything wrong besides off the court.
Yeah.
besides off the job.
He's a top 10 coach.
Top 10. That's it.
I mean, that's easily selling it short.
Top 3. Spoelstra, Dagnall, Udoka. Am I missing one? Kenny Atkinson, Joe Mazzulla. I really like both of them. I feel like that's the big 5 though. Unless I'm missing someone else. Like
Michael Malone's still up there for me, probably.
I like Michael Malone. I think he's one of the best in terms of locker room coaches, but I dare I say a little bit of a Jokic merchant. Like, I feel like when that falls into your lap, like, how can you mess it up?
Where would Ty be at for you, Ty Lue?
There was something he did the other day that really bothered me. And it, like, immediately, I can't remember what it was. It was so bad. I was so upset.
Udoka's like top 5, though.
Yeah, Ty Lue, dude, I was always so high on Ty Lue as a coach until, like, a week ago. He did something, and I can't remember what it was, but I was so
Never
upset.
forgave him.
That's it. Like, I cut off Ty Lue. No, Ty Lue's a great coach. Quinn Snyder, Will Hardy, some other ones that come to mind. Tom Thibodeau, always up there. What about JJ Redick? Hey, he's been fine. Jamal Mosley, pretty underrated coach.
Oh, yeah.
Also, I before you get to your next point, I just have to throw one more name out there because I think he is the most. I think he's like a top 5 defensive coach and always shows it in the playoffs. Never gets credit. Jason Kidd is such a good defensive coach. Such a good defensive coach.
So I'm glad you said that because I was going to say top 5 defensive coaches in the league. Like in there, automatically has to be Kidd and Udoka. Those would be like the first two that.
Spoelstra.
Oh yeah, Spo. Okay.
Who else? There's 2 more spots. You got Udoka,
Jamal Mosley.
Dude, Missoula. Missoula's up there.
Missoula's up there.
Missoula's a great defensive coach. Like he's my favorite coach in the league too because of the way he be acting. Like the way he acts. He's easily my favorite coach in the league. But we're going off the rails. Ime Udoka, really good coach. Rockets, really good. Let's move on. De'Aaron Fox, getting traded potentially. What are your thoughts?
I first things first, mini rant. I think, the national media should have people that actually understand current team situations. Like trying to claim that the Spurs have absolutely nothing to offer that's appealing to Sacramento is just stupid. Trying to keep it as PG friendly as possible for the time being. The producers got on me, had a big meeting or whatever about it. Can't keep throwing out F-bombs and things like that. We're not even an hour in yet. I think you do trade De'Aaron Fox. I think we have enough data, especially recently, of holding on to star and I'm not saying like De'Aaron Fox isn't a star, but like in air quotes star level players, holding on to them too long in bad situations just very, very, very clearly, I think at this point just don't pan out well for you. From an asset management standpoint, in terms of getting value that getting return on the player that's getting sent out, just trade him, dog. Get him to San Antonio. Trade him now. I don't think it's not like keeping Fox makes you a second round playoff team or something like along those lines. Like, I feel like you're pretty stuck, admittedly, especially like all indicators are he's gone after next season, where I think he's free agent in 2026. Just trade him. Holding the asset longer does absolutely nothing for you. And then honestly, I mean, you had to tweet about it a while ago, but especially now, like how this team's played since they've kind of both been healthy together, Malik Monk is probably their best half-court decision maker from the guard spot as of late. And then you're able to still get enough current assets to like Monk, Sabonis, DeRozan, Keegan Ellis, Devin Carter, and whatever salary you get back for De'Aaron Fox. That's not a team that's going to compete. They're going to win a playoff series probably, but like you're going to be the same team you are currently without De'Aaron Fox. And maybe even have more roster balance by trading De'Aaron Fox as well, along with like the draft capital that you would get in return. So just trade him now. I don't know where he goes. I think San Antonio makes the most sense. I don't want Houston to do it. I'm actually pretty firm on the like Houston don't trade for De'Aaron Fox thing, and my whole logic there is get the experience with this core now. Get the experience, ride this thing out, get to the playoffs. Get through the struggle of not having of not having that elite half court creator like be your weakness. Like get that experience and then let the summer and the deadline next season or just internal development, like let that be your needle mover going forward. I'm not trading for De'Aaron Fox and giving up on one of your young assets that you currently have on the second best team in the league, on the 4th best defense overall in the league. So if it's San Antonio, love the fit for both parties, and I would just trade De'Aaron Fox where you can.
Yeah, to your point on Monk being kind of like the offensive engine, I think there's a few things. I think Fox is clearly the better player than Monk in a vacuum, right? Like in most situations, Fox is like kind of a number 1, number 2 hybrid. Monk isn't that, but specifically for what the Kings like to do, Monk, the offense just functions better when Monk is playing the point. And it's, first of all, Monk is easily, in my opinion, the most underrated passer in the league. He's an elite passer. The passes he makes are ridiculous, and he's a flat-out way better passer than Fox. He's also a better three-point shooter than Fox, which I think makes the fit with DeRozan work a lot more seamlessly, where it's like DeRozan's going to play in the mid-post, he's going to surgically use his like pace to get to the mid-range, and Monk's going to spot up and play off the catch. Fox can do that, but he's not as effective in that spot. And then the third and most important variable, Monk's chemistry with Sabonis is just so much better than Fox. Like, Monk and Sabonis in the two-man game is just beautiful hoops. It's absolutely beautiful to watch. The way they play off of each other is truly just, it's magnificent. And I think Fox is best suited in a like spread pick and roll type of offense, like a San Antonio Spurs type of offense. But yeah, I kind of agree with you. I think trading Fox is the best move because I don't think this core with Fox is really a threat to do anything, and then you run the risk of losing him in 2026, like you said, and getting nothing. I think it's tough, though, because I think you can go one of two directions. You can get those assets and recoup, but then you kind of have to trade DeRozan and Sabonis, too, and that just kind of gets messy. I kind of like the idea of, like, trying to trade him to a team that you can still compete. Like, you get back players that help you compete, and maybe you're just a better fit. So, I came up with 4 trades. I tweeted them initially when I first heard the rumors. I just want to get, like, quick thoughts on each trade, and it's just like I tried to create win-win situations, but it was tough. Okay, Golden State Warriors, De'Aaron Fox, and then some players to match the salary for Andrew Wiggins, Kyle Anderson, Moses Moody, and picks.
I was still a little flabbergasted still by the thought of Steph and De'Aaron Fox playing together. My bad. Andrew Wiggins, Moses Moody, Kyle Anderson, and picks.
Yeah.
So now you're starting 5 in Sacramento's what? Malik. I mean,
DeRozan.
Malik DeRozan.
Murray, Wiggins, Sabonis. And then off the bench, you've got Kyle Anderson basically filling in for Trey Lyles.
Yeah.
And then you've got Keon Ellis, Devin Carter.
Moses Moody.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a nice group.
And then Fox and Curry. Curry's just...
That sells itself.
Yeah, that's it. So, how do you feel about that? You think the Kings... you think that's a win for the Kings?
Yeah, because you just like get more win now players to just fit easier. And I mean, defensively right now they've already been a sneaky, like it's not getting talked about a lot, but they've already been a sneaky like top 14 or so defense overall in the year. I think I forgot where they've been post Mike Brown firing, but they've already been a sneaky. Yeah, they've already been a sneaky good defense all season. I think you just like leaned into that even more while like. Yeah. Leaning into more like the best part of your half court offense right now, which is the Monk and Sabonis like 2-man game and the dribble handoff stuff. So I like that for Sacramento.
All right, second trade. This one's absurd. I would never do this in a million years, but It was just like get these rumors over with. It was basically ignore like picks and stuff, just the player swap. It was Fox and Herter for Jimmy Butler and Josh Richardson. Just get Jimmy to Sacramento, get Fox to Miami. Also,
is Sacramento the other team that Jimmy like reported was like, yeah, no thanks.
I don't. It could be possible. It wouldn't shock me. But so then your starting lineup becomes Monk, DeRozan. Dude, the DeRozan and Jimmy fit sounds gross. It just sounds terrible. But ignoring that, imagine the defense, man. Monk, DeRozan, Jimmy, Murray, Sabonis. It's a low key little squad. It's a little squad.
That offensive fit is a little.
It's a little questionable, but do a little bit of staggering. I think Jimmy would play off Sabonis well. It's pretty interesting. And then I kind of just like that one a lot because, dude, Fox, Hero, Bam, and Ware is crazy. That is crazy.
If I'm Miami, there's like a way that I could pair Fox with Tyler and Bam,
dude, without getting rid of Khalil Ware.
Without getting rid of Khalil Ware. Like, literally anybody else on the team you can have.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on. The other one was the Houston one. I don't like this one either. You mentioned it. The way to make it work was De'Aaron Fox and Kevin Herter it was...
okay, it's Van Vliet. Okay.
Van Vliet, Eason, and Whitmore. And it's like, I don't want to get rid of Tari Eason. I can't. And also Van Vliet. Van Vliet's so vital to what they do right now that, like, I feel like that would really just mess things up, replacing him with Fox, even if Fox is the clearly better player.
Yeah. I don't want to give up Eason or Whitmore. Like, I was about to say, like, from a Sacramento standpoint, I don't need picks. I won the deal.
Yeah.
Like, Oh my God, I love that for Sacramento. I hate that for Houston. I love that for Sacramento.
That's how I feel. Yeah, that's how I feel. Okay, last one. This is my favorite one for both teams. I'm not gonna lie. Even more than San Antonio. We've got De'Aaron Fox and Trey Lyles on the move. 4, Jonathan Isaac, Goga Bitadze, Anthony Black, and picks.
I think I saw this one. You said Trey Lyles, De'Aaron Fox for Goga, Anthony Black, Jonathan Isaac
and picks.
Who's the salary guy.
Yeah.
And picks.
So the Kings rotation would become
so nasty.
The Kings rotation would become
in a good way, nasty good way.
Yeah, Monk, Ellis, DeMar, Murray, Sabonis. And then off the bench, you've got Devin Carter, Anthony Black, Jonathan Isaac, and you finally got your backup big in Goga. Finally got your backup big in Goga Bitadze.
Does Sacramento like immediately have like the best guard rotation of defenders then? And that's like with having Malik Monk still. Like you're
Carter and Black.
Like dog.
Okay, I would still take Houston's with Van Vliet, Holiday, and Brooks. But like
I don't know.
Sacramento, dude, that's nasty. That's nasty. And then you have Isaac and Goga as your like rim protectors. Keegan Murray is such an elite defender, so underrated.
And then Orlando, that's so good for Orlando.
Orlando's their starting 5 becomes Fox, Suggs, Franz, Paolo, and then I would say Mo Wagner, and then off the bench
or like Wendell for now because Mo's still hurt, bench, right?
You still have Tristan Da Silva. You still have KCP. You still have
Cole Anthony as your backup one.
You still have Caleb Houston. You still have Jet Howard. Like, bro, that's a win-win. Nasty. That's a win-win.
And I've always been higher on Anthony Black. Bro, yeah.
And it gives the Kings direction because they're still competitive now, and they have now the young guys to stock up on.
Orlando adding De'Aaron Fox is filthy.
Fox, Franz,
that's so disgusting.
Yeah, and then Suggs, dude.
Like
that was my favorite trade. Like, immediately, right when I heard the Fox trade rumor, I went straight to the Magic trade machine. I was like, get Orlando De'Aaron Fox and let me see what I can get to Sacramento. And it just made so much sense.
Like, De'Aaron Fox is like the worst defender in that starting 5.
And he's a fine defender.
Yeah, like in Orlando.
Actually, you think Paolo's a better defender than Fox?
The fact that that's a discussion though, that kind of proves my point. Like, I feel great.
And then you have Suggs, Franz, and then a big.
Right, insert random big. And then Jamal's defensive coach. That's disgusting.
Yeah, I'm rocking with that. That would be my dream trade. I'm gonna have to buy 2K, boot up to my league, and make it happen. But any last thoughts on the De'Aaron Fox stuff?
Trade him. Don't drag this out. And like, not to make a football comment really quick, but Bill Belichick, obviously all-time Patriots or legendary Patriots coach, he did this thing a lot in New England where it was essentially like we're gonna trade you a year too early and just like live with the consequences of that year, rather than like hold on to trade you a year too late and regret not having traded you when the iron was hot, in air quotes. And there is some worry about like getting burned immediately by like trading them a year too early. Specifically, like, he basically did this with like older players that are like still really, really good. But I think it still applies to like current younger, I guess, talent like Lauri Markkanen, right? Utah trades Lauri Markkanen 2 trade deadlines ago. They're getting like 3 first-round picks, maybe more, right? Yeah. They don't capitalize. They don't wind up trading him, for one reason or another. And now they're locked into a 5-year deal with Lauri Markkanen, where we've already kind of discussed this. He's kind of taken a step back in terms of like vertical explosiveness, which changes his offensive ceiling and versatility and things of that nature. And now you're seeing teams more often now, like I've already said, you're seeing teams more often than not now, like hold on to guys because you're not getting the dream package where it's that it just never works out for you. I think maybe not never, but I think there's more data now that shows like, look, holding on to these guys for that extra deadline, or we're just gonna wait till the summer to trade them because the value is not right yet, or something, whatever the excuse may be. I just think it's proof that there's enough evidence to just show that doesn't work more times than not. So just trade them. You're going to lose them in 2 years, it seems like, anyway, or next summer or whatever it is. Just trade them. You're like going to be around this level of a team anyway, I feel, with him or not. Lean into getting better pieces to fit the current roster. And, maybe get some more upside swings as well long term, like if you do an Orlando situation. Going to throw out some GM lingo. Obviously takes two to tango. But, yeah, I hate that so much.
We got to get out of here. Another guy, just to throw out there, because you just kind of sparked my brain. Nets need to get rid of Cam Johnson. Like, if they don't get rid of him at the deadline, they will, because they will probably get 2 first-round picks for him right now. If they
that's another example.
Yeah, if they pass this deadline, that's it. They're not getting 2 first-round picks for Cam Johnson.
Yeah.
So,
just trade them.
Yeah. Trade guys. When guys are wanting to be traded or could be traded to a contender and you can get good value for them, trade them because you're not doing anything with them.
Is this the equivalent of don't overthink good talent or whatever the whole rant was at the beginning of the year?
Yeah. And then watch, they're going to keep Fox and they're going to win the championship.
You heard it here first.
But, yeah, man, that's it. We appreciate you guys listening to episode number 25. Make sure you follow us on social media. All of my stuff is at Tyler Britton _. My YouTube channel is Hoop Venue. You can also look up Hoop Venue on all platforms, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. His stuff on Instagram, Sean _Davis 23. Twitter, Sean _DAVI. His YouTube channels are the Los Angeles Lakers Network and the Sports Headline Show. If you're watching on YouTube, all of those good links will be easily found in the description. Make sure you go support our other content. Once again, we appreciate you guys listening, and we will catch you guys next time for episode number 26.